Good evening, ma'am. It's so
Good
good to have
evening.
you with us today.
Good evening. Lovely to see you here online.
Before we start, I would like to present a short introduction about you today, ma'am. Um Dr. Anuna Guha is the Managing Director of Nityanjali Group, the Institute of Performing Arts, Education, Personality Development, and Management Services. She's a double PhD and holds a doctoral degree in sociology, human relations, and psychology. She holds a postgraduate diploma in personality development. She has been a corporate trainer, executive coach, and consultant with numerous corporate houses since past 20 years. A recipient of Women of Substance Award from Young Environmentalist Group Hiranandani Foundation, Dr. Anuna Guha is a TEDx speaker and has also authorized the book 21 Mantras for People Management, Lessons from Buddha, Vivekananda, and Gandhi. It's so good to have you with us today, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Ms. Gwalani, for this wonderful introduction. And at the outset, let me thank Mr. Mitanshu Purandare, Palak ma'am, and Yoshita and the entire Unlock team for thinking of such an interesting and thought-provoking theme and topic.
Ma'am, before we start our interview today, I would like to share some recent facts about domestic violence in India today. In 2020, between March 25th and May 31st, 1,477 complaints of domestic violence were made by women. This 68-day period recorded more complaints than those received between March and May in previous 10 years. According to WHO, one in every three women across the globe experiences physical or sexual violence by an intimate partner or sexual violence by any preparators in their lifetime. At least 30% of all women who have been in a relationship have experienced physical or sexual violence. According to Crime in India Report 2018, published by the National Crime Research, every 1.7 minutes a crime was recorded against a woman in India. Every 16 minutes a rape was committed, and every 4.4 minutes a girl is subjected to domestic violence in India today. And that is why we are here to shed some light on this thought-provoking topic. Ma'am, I would like to start this interview with a question. How would you define domestic violence today?
I think I'll take it in one is my definition, but I think I will also go with what our judicial system has defined it as, because then it becomes more easy for people to connect to it because there is a law and there is a way to address it. So domestic violence is basically something that happens in the homes of people. So that happens in our own house, in our own family. Yes, so it is considered to be within those confines of the four walls. Okay, so which is part of the family, the marriage, the immediate unit of a human being's life. And what does domestic violence mean? Now, violence normally is something that we understand as physical violence, right? When I beat up somebody, when I bash up somebody, even when we are in college or in school, when we are hitting some of our friends or fighting, that's also part of violence. So the physically harming somebody is called as violence. Now, that is one aspect, that's the physical. But when we look at a human being is made up of body, mind, and soul, right? So the other
Yes.
aspect of violence is in domestic violence, the way we have defined it, is about the mental and the emotional violence, the mental and the emotional trauma that a person goes through also. And what do I mean by mental? So mental would be in terms of repeatedly hearing something which one might not like. Say, for example, if a woman, in this case, I'll take it as a woman. I'm not going to say that the men are not subjected to this kind of thing, but
Yeah.
let's look at majority of the cases that come to light are of women. So when we talk about it in terms of the mental trauma, is about you're useless, you don't have class, you can't do anything, तुमसे कुछ नहीं होगा, नालायक हो, बेकार हो, parents ने कुछ नहीं सिखाया, abusing also the family. So this is a sort of a mental harassment which happens to somebody, which also comes in the domestic violence. And the emotional aspect is when one is constantly hearing these things, or when one is being battered, then the emotional trauma, the emotional stress that somebody is going through in terms of feeling anxious, or feeling fed up with life, or feeling depressed, or feeling hopeless, or being submissive. These are the aspects of the way that we look at domestic violence. And naturally the physical aspect, earlier when I was studying sociology in St. Xavier's College, this was in say I think 97, 96, there was no Domestic
Right.
Violence Act which had come in, because this came in
Yeah.
much later. So at that
Yeah.
point, we used to study something called as wife battering. You see, so beating up the wife was considered to be something which was gender insensitive. So violence
Yeah.
here, in the terms of the physical violence, could be about beating up the person, physically tying their hands, or banging them against the wall, slapping, a whole lot of it. So it's physical, it's mental, and as well as it's going to be in terms of the emotional, and it's normally within that confined of the relationship, not professional, but familial, personal relationship. That is why it's called as domestic.
Yeah. Yeah. Very well said, ma'am. Ma'am, the behavior to be violent is not something you inherit, but something you develop. Why does a person have the need to be violent towards another human being?
So these are actually there are very many layers to this. So when we counsel people for this, the victims of the domestic violence, or sometimes the perpetrators themselves, that they are inflicting this violence, there could be multiple reasons. One of the reason could be that in the childhood the person has seen this happening in their own homes, and they might have seen the father do this to the wife, to their own mother. So there could be two ways of looking at it. So when they grow up, either they repeat the pattern to their same the same thing to their own wife. I'm talking about in a husband-wife case currently, or they could also be the other way, that I've seen my father do this and I will not do this to my wife. So it could be either or. There could also be people where they actually need, there could be a mental health issue. So abusing someone, hitting someone could also be a sense of power that the individual feels, that
Yeah.
so is lesser than me, and even if I'm hitting him or her, or abusing mentally or emotionally, the person cannot really come back and do anything to me. That person cannot protest. So which means it's a sense of power that I can. So it can also stem from an inferiority complex. Inferiority
Okay.
complex in the sense that
Yeah.
I'm less in some other area, and I'm not good enough in some other areas. So this is an area, let me express it in that way.
Yeah.
So it is connected to the mental health issue. And in a whole lot of things, it's also in the upbringing. You see, where we are brought up in the way that it's okay to do this, that it is
Correct.
a part of life. So a lot of the dowry harassment cases have the domestic violence, right? Where
Yeah.
if the parents have not given an X amount of, even though dowry is illegal, but if the parents have not given an X amount of, tola of sona, or cupboard, or gadi to the so-called daughter, then the
Yeah.
whole family, including the in-laws or the husband, could start getting violent and could start harassing the person. So it's also greed then, you see. So greed becomes another motive to do this, because one thinks it's sort of a barter, that if I do this, then I can pressurize that person to giving me what I want. So there are multiple
Correct.
layers to it. I'm just stating two or three upfront.
Yeah. Ma'am, there are cases where people are not aware that they are in an abusive relationship. They think that it's supposed to be that way, or it's very normal to get beaten up, or that it's okay if someone is beating me. What are the signs one should look for to know that they are facing domestic violence and it's not okay?
Right. So can I first start with why do we take the domestic violence? Why do we accept the behavior of
Yeah,
domestic
yeah.
violence? And I will come to that. How do I recognize that we are facing domestic violence?
Okay.
So one
Yeah.
is that in a society we are all brought up to be, and uh, that marriage is for keeps, that relationships are for keeps, or the way we have all been brought up also कि लड़की पराया धन है, एक बार आप चले गए तो आप वापस नहीं आ सकते. You see, so these sort of norms that once you've got married, you are forsaking your parental home. You always have to belong to the in-laws. In fact, I'll just state this is not exactly domestic violence, but I would like to state a little bit of value. My
Yeah.
grandfather, S.K. Guha, was very, very progressive. I mean, he died when I was about 11. This is 1987. But this is what I've heard even in the 60s or the 70s. This is what he did. He had, my father, there are 6 sons. And when the eldest son got married, he would make sure that every year or every 6 months, my aunt went back to her parental home in Kolkata, whereas they were located in Mumbai. So somebody asked that, you are sending the bahu so often to the parental home, how will she ever develop a bond with the sasural? And he said, the family where she has spent 23 years, if she can't belong to them, how will she ever belong to my family? And it's such a pertinent point. Why is it that
Yeah.
I have to forsake one to be part of another? No, I can have both. But these kind of thoughts were there earlier. Things are changing now. There's a long way to go to that, and we'll come to how we can change that. So what happens is
Yeah.
that when we are in that relationship, whether in marriage or whether previous to marriage in a love relationship, all of us want to be accepted. Nobody likes to be rejected. So if somebody is being abusive, then that fear that if I protest, the relationship will break. And how can I handle a breakup? Today we have a song saying "Meri Saiya ji se aaj maine breakup kar liya." That's putting it in an absolute very bindas manner. But in the heart, it doesn't go the same way, right? When somebody breaks
It's
up,
easier
normally.
said it's easier said than done.
Absolutely. If you're in a serious relationship, then it will definitely cause heartache, right? Heartache and every other ache. Okay, so there is going to be that part. So each of us wants to be accepted by the people around, and so if we complain, then my relationship is going to break. That's one. So there is a sense of rejection that the individual feels that I could not make my relationship work. So we immediately start blaming ourselves that meri galti hai. So, and often the victim who is going through the violence starts believing that she is not the victim, but the one who is actually hitting or abusing is the victim. You see, because mentally we are starting to get conditioned ki, I am beating you because you are XYZ. So it's not my
Yeah.
fault, it's your fault.
It's
Then
your
thirdly,
fault.
what happens is also how many of us are really that courageous to come and say that this happened and it broke off, because we are all worried about what society will say, how society will react. Just today somebody was telling me, yes, this is an issue for the lower strata. I said, no, you're wrong if you're telling me this is an issue for the lower strata. In the lower strata, it's more visible. In the upper strata, it's hidden. Nobody comes out
Yeah.
with it. It's very well covered up with everything because log kya
True.
kahenge, duniya ka kahegi, samaj kya kahega. So it's all very well covered. So there is nothing as the lower, upper, middle, illiterate, so-called educated. It's there
No.
across, right? So which is why
Yeah.
people do not want to come
Definitely.
across, because you don't know how to face society. How am I going to answer questions? And fortunately or unfortunately, Yoshita, we live in a society where most people are very judgmental, no? So people don't like to hear the other person's point of view. Nobody wants to know ki kya hua tha. Nobody wants to know what she went through. Everybody is just busy saying, "Are you sure there was nothing wrong with you?" Maybe he did this because you were like that. So in a
Correct.
society where we've always been brought up as to, the male child is preferred, or the woman can do certain things, but will change several. In fact, I'm the only child of my daughter, only daughter, and when I was born in 1976, my parents were distributing, my father was distributing motichur ka laddu to everybody and pastries, and he was told, what are you saying? You have a daughter, तो आप क्यों लड्डू और pastry बांट रहे हैं? You see, because you're a daughter. In 76, so it was like a big thing. But I come from a
Yeah.
very progressive family. Our institute also has been started by my father and our mentor. So it happens. So in such a society, then it's very difficult for people to come out. But I would like to believe, and I see that it has changed a bit. It will take time.
Yeah.
No reformation
It
can
will
happen.
take time.
So that was one part, is that you asked me, why do people not come out and talk about it, right? And also why people will not come out and talk about it, because say for example, if you're married and if you want to come and talk about it, what does one do? After talking about it, what does one do? Go back to the marriage, or does one walk out of the marriage? So until all
Correct.
these things are clear in one's head, it's difficult.
And also, like we spoke about the other day, people do say that, you can get out of the relationship, but a lot of women are not financially independent.
Absolutely.
And and once they're out of it, who will, where will they go?
Right,
What will
right.
happen to them?
And like I was telling you, Madhya Yoshita, it's very easy to say, be idealistic. I was pretty much like that when I was your age, 19, 20, studying gender. And, that you should not take injustice. One must fight. Why on earth should you handle a relationship like this? You should walk out. Easier said than done, because to walk out, one,
Correct.
one needs to have financial independence. You walk out and go where? You cannot go on walk
Exactly.
out and stay on the streets, right? So you cannot be on the
Correct.
pavement. So walk out करने के लिए आपके पास घर होना चाहिए, आपके पास खाने के लिए रोटी होनी चाहिए. We must have a home, we must have food to eat. And then if one walks out, if one is financially independent, then one might actually have to then again look at one place to stay. For that, one has to spend money. Then are the parents actually supportive? Are the parents going to keep the daughter, or are the parents going to say that, if you come back home, there are cases we have where they say that if you come back home, then your younger sister will not get married, so please stay
Yeah.
out. Or in cases where people
Correct.
have love marriages, parents refuse to take them back, even if they are listening, saying that you took the decision and abhi tum bhugto, you face the consequences. So then I'm not saying that the
Correct.
parents are wrong or the girl is right. I'm just stating it upfront how it is. It's not about, we cannot just make it as black or white. There are many shades of gray, and
Shades
to
of
do
gray.
this, one needs a lot of himmat. So then, if one decides to come back, and where does one go? And if you have a child, what do you do? So if you have to walk out, it has to be a planned manner. It can't happen overnight. For that, one will have to save,
Yeah.
one will have to think of options, because then if you do, you make a complete clean break. It needs to be counseled of the options. So that was one part. The other part you asked is how does one recognize? Are there signs?
Signs. Correct.
Right. So, what are the signs that one is in a domestic violent relationship? So, one of the signs would be the physical hammering or the physical beating up of the person. So, where you're being either pulled by your hair, the individual is being slapped or beaten by a belt, or um, any kind of physical abuse. You've been put a cushion on your mouth and trying to suffocate you. So there are various ways, various signs in these cases that one understands, where they will also leave telltale marks on the body of the physical abuse. In terms of and then the one who is abusing, one
Okay.
who is abusing, how do you recognize? So if the person is constantly belittling you, humiliating you in public, so which means publicly kuch bhi hoga, if you've spoken to somebody, oh, you spoke to him, I'm sure you're having an affair with so and so person. Or, oh, you have no class, or you're not good at this, your food is horrible. See, once, twice, thrice, every relationship, whether marriage or pre-marriage, whether relationship or marriage, will go through ups and downs and adjustments. So one cannot categorize
Correct.
everything. Oh, today he said my food is bad, so I am in a mentally abusive relationship. No, that's not what I
Yeah,
mean. But if it's
correct.
a repetitive
No.
pattern which is happening day after day, month after month, year after year, then it is a pattern. Okay, so then that would be about that. And emotionally, if we are constantly even told, like I said before, by our in-laws or by our spouse or whoever's in the house, that you're not doing enough, your parents are not managing enough, or so. And then the signs that the victim will start feeling is that the victim will normally not be able to sleep peacefully. They will sort of, the face
Yeah.
will start looking haggard and tired. There will not be any inner peace. One will keep shedding tears and crying, or one will keep praying to God all the time, saying, save me. Some people take to smoking, some people take to alcoholism, to sort of curb that pain, or to forget that. So these signs are two ways. One, the one who is the victim, what is she going through? Currently I'm speaking in the perspective of the woman. What is she going through when she's being violated or going through a domestic violent relationship? And the other is the signs of the person who is inflicting that violence, or the group
Yeah.
of people who are inflicting. It is not necessary that it is one single individual. It could be a group of people. If it's in a family unit, it could be a group of people who are inflicting that violence.
Correct.
And
Yeah.
that, and then
Okay.
kuch bhi karo, you can never make anybody happy. Whatever you do, everybody is always saying it was not good enough. This is another sign that you're never able
Yeah.
to make anybody happy. Everybody is always complaining about your behavior, the way you look, the way you dress, the way you talk, the way you walk, the way you cook, everything.
Correct. Ma'am, coming to mental health, which has gained momentum during this unprecedented times that we are in. We've always seen that domestic violence is taken in the conventional sense, that is beating up or, suffocating someone, all of that. But I would like to also ask you to talk about the emotional and mental domestic violence that women face today. And in every walk of life, from being in a relationship, in a married life, or in her in-laws, what what is this mental domestic violence? And once someone has faced that, how does someone come out of it? Like, how do you break that circle and come out of that kind of trauma and that kind of mentality that you've been exposed to over the years?
Right. Okay. So one part is that, like I've already mentioned before, the mental and the emotional aspect. So even while one is in a relationship, one can actually go through this domestic violence of not being, when one can be in a relationship for 5 years, 6 years, but we are constantly being told that you're not good enough and that I'm doing a favor to you by being in this relationship, right? So
Yeah,
that it's traumatic, because which means that there is something wrong with me. This entire thing of mental and emotional violence and trauma is that there is something wrong with me, that I am not good enough. That's a very important thing, or important sign, what the victim actually goes through. Yes, in the marriage, let's look at it like this, Yoshita. That throughout history, it's not just in India alone. Across the globe, women have had to struggle and fight and come up. Otherwise, we would have not had the feminist movement, and we would not have had liberal feminism. We would not have had radical feminism.
yeah,
We would not, or social feminism. It wouldn't have happened, and it did not happen in India, right? This happened abroad. But what we had
yeah,
in India, we had our social reformers like Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, who made sure that widow remarriage happened, or Raja Ram Mohan Roy, who fought for not to have sati for the ladies, right? So they were feminists as well. They might be men, but they were feminists. So historically, one needs to see that this has been happening for years. Okay, and there because at that point the role was very defined, that a woman is only supposed to do X, Y, and Z, nothing more and nothing less. In fact, women were not even shown doctors, because it was considered to be, how can a male doctor even treat you? A male woman doesn't, even for childbirth, you can't have a doctor coming and visiting you. Oh my God, not done. So that was how it is. And then gradually it evolved. So now when one gets married, naturally we all go with the mind, open mind, and we women are very dreamy, right? And we all have to be. We all imagine that knight in shining armor is going to come turbuk turbuk on and sweep me off my feet, and that's the rosy picture. And similarly, the men dream the same thing about their to be's, their girlfriends or their to be wives, because that dream and the hope is very important for us, for all of us. If we don't have that, how on earth do we survive, and how on earth do we look at the brighter things? So when that happens initially, when one gets married, one naturally tries to adjust, and sort of mold into a different culture. After that, if there are constant things of where the in-laws are saying some things, or the husband is saying something, now there are two things to it. If one is a homemaker and one is at home, then there is no outlet, right? So you're just
Yeah.
at home the whole day, and you have to keep listening to this entire thing. So then once you have a baby or a child, that becomes one
Yeah.
diversion to focus all the energies over there. And especially if such women have boys, which I certainly always think that enlightened women should have boys, because then they can actually educate the boys to turn out to be a little bit more different than what has happened earlier. I'll come to boy child education later. And
Yeah.
so then that becomes a way, because in a lot of these families they're not even allowed to take hobbies, so one really can't do much. How does one work? Now, if there is somebody who is financially independent and is still going through this, then the life is little bit better, in the sense that one at least has one own account or finance to sort of splurge on something, spend on something to sort of pamper self, or go to the parlor maybe, or do a hobby, or sing or dance or do some artwork which that person enjoys. But often in such cases, the finances are sort of taken care of, where did you spend this much? Where did you spend this much? Where did you spend this much? That also becomes
Yeah.
abuse and the trauma. So they have to balance. Now, how do they come out of it? Is the question also, or we do that later?
Yeah. Yeah. How do we come out of it? That's the continuation.
Right. So how do they come out of it? There are two things that
I'm
one has
speaking
to.
mentally. Speaking about
Yes.
mental trauma. Yeah.
Mentally, right? How do we come out of it? Like I said, one way is that if you're a homemaker, you just have to divert your energies to, if you have a child, then now in this case, if there is a woman who is not able to bear a child
Yeah.
and is also not working, then it's terrible for them, because then there are women who can't conceive, and then raat they have to listen to the fact that, oh my god, there's something wrong with you, and nobody ever tells a man that there's something wrong with you, right? It always has to be the woman's fault, the way that we look at society. So then it becomes very difficult for such people, because then the energies are not uh, diverted. But there are a
Yeah.
lot of cases where, in fact, we have a recent case where the woman had to, hear this sort of thing from the in-laws, but she has a very, very supportive husband, and he moved out with her to another house. So one does
Yeah.
find such are very, very supportive of their, wives as well. So to divert into one's hobbies, to divert into this thing, and after a point, you know what this means, right? That's the only
Yeah.
way. Yeah. So one has to find that. And if one has access to other organizations where one can go and, sort of feel good, not necessarily talk about what is happening at home, but at least have a change of the scene, or go out to the market, or anything that helps you get out of it for a while.
But what about counseling, ma'am? That is one thing that is really taken out as taboo in India, to go to someone for counseling or a therapist. So, do you think that we should start making it normal now for people who have been facing or who are facing any kind of mental trauma or violence, any kind of violence?
Yes.
Do you think that
So
this?
it would actually, of course, in India till date, you are, we consider it to be a taboo that, there's something wrong here. That is why you're going to a counselor. So,
Exactly. Yeah.
no, naturally, that's not the case. I mean, it's been years. In fact, our institute has been counseling, our sir, Dr. Tushargo, has been counseling for 57 years now, and it's free of cost. We've never charged anybody for that counseling, because that's ours is essentially an NGO. And
Yeah.
people do come to talk. But yes, firstly, one, what happens is, firstly, we start feeling. I'm talking about why we don't do it. So one part of it is that maybe there's something wrong with me, so I'm going to a counselor. So that's how society
Yeah.
look at it. Second is we often feel ये मेरी घर की बात है. You see, it's my family, and why should I go and
Yeah.
speak about it outside? That family is
Correct.
it's a very secretive, secretive नहीं बोलूँगी, it's a very sacred sort of a thing, you see, that you
Yeah.
cannot go across
We
and do that. So in
talk
fact, a lot of
about,
them
yeah.
come for counseling, do it in a very hush-hush manner where nobody else in the family knows that they're coming for counseling. So that's the fact of the
Okay.
matter. So that remains.
Yeah.
So people who do come. So for counseling, if you can find the right group of people, certainly. But a lot of times, again, one has to differentiate, whether I need to go to a psychiatrist and take medication or whether I just need to go to a counselor. Often people
Correct.
interchange
Yeah.
and then messes up the system completely. So that also is important to understand that I need to go to a counselor. This is not about
Yeah.
medication. You see,
Yeah.
for medication, there are specific health issues for which
Yeah.
one
Correct.
definitely go. Yes. So going to a counselor will certainly help if you find the right kind of people. But Yoshita ma'am, I would still say that once, twice, thrice, 4 times one can visit a counselor. Then the individual has to manage on their own. This is what we as counselors always say, that we can show you the path, but you have to do. The action has to be of the individual. I can put the food into your mouth. I cannot force you to swallow it.
Correct. Yeah.
Then people are also in denial.
Very happy.
I'm doing this also, I'm doing that also, still everything is going wrong. Then naturally you're not doing something right? People refuse
Yeah.
to believe that there is something wrong or that there is a problem. So if that happens, it's very difficult to do anything about it.
Yeah. And then change comes from within. Nobody can do that for you. Correct. Ma'am, we've spoken about women who are facing domestic violence, but there are also times where kids are facing domestic violence by their parents. Let's talk about that and continue with what can children do to get the right help. Because with women, they are adults, they can still ask for the help or they can still do something, but children are just helpless and innocent. What can they do about it? And firstly, why are kids being subjected to domestic violence by their parents?
Okay, now there are two things to this. One is we are talking about a parenting issue. So when
Yeah.
when we do our parental workshops, where we actually talk about that when one decides to get married, before one
Yeah.
decides to get married, one has to be prepared to get married and have a child. But what happens to us is we think of it, marry one, child we will think later. Okay, but actually they go hand in hand. In most cases, there will be cases that people get married and they have decided right from the beginning that we do not want to have children. In that case, it's fine. It's the individual decision. But in most cases, one gets married for a companion and also to start a family. There are two things involved in this. So starting a
Yeah.
family also needs a mental readiness. It also needs a sense of responsibility that I'm bringing up somebody else. Now, when we're talking about, see in India, the way we have all been brought up to a large extent is that, some kind of corporal punishment has always been there. Now it is all in schools. One cannot go through those, physically touching the child, etc., is not
Yeah.
to be done at all. But now what I am talking about is the extremes. I'm not talking about, I'm talking about where one is beating up the child to the extent that the child is fainting, or when one is traumatizing the child so much that if you don't come first in class, then khatam. Or
Yeah.
why did you not get 95% and why did you get 94 point something percent? You see, so these become absolutely traumatic for the child, and it is in the family setup. Now, what can the child do? A
Yeah.
7 year
What can a child do?
I'm going to be very realistic. What can a 7 year
Yeah.
old, 6 year old, 8 year old do? We don't
Hmm.
have a 911.
Yeah. We don't.
Okay, and neither do we create that kind of awareness as yet. We will possibly have. It's not that we don't have helpline centers. We do have helpline centers where
Yeah.
children can call up and do it. But how many of us are really aware? And the other thing is, घर की बात है ना. Why do I make it public? So we have all been socialized and brought up into that. So such children find it very difficult. And in majority of the cases, when we have counseling where parents come complaining about their child, it's actually not the problem with the child. It's a problem with the parent.
Parents.
I have had one of the students extremely bright when I was teaching him, a personality development workshop. Extremely bright, wonderful. And when we finished the course, the parents came and told me, he has been identified with ADD, attention deficit, and that is why we are trying to. I said, but he is such a brilliant boy. Why have you categorized that? They have told the child also that you are. And it's so sad. And when he came for our summer camp, he was voted as the best camp boy. Can you imagine that? So what happens is that a lot of times, I'm not saying parents are doing this on purpose, but we are so worried about our child. We love our child so much that, we are so protective that we are trying to do too much, and in that it sort of affects. So if either of the parent is willing to, say for example, out of the father or the mother, if one of them is sort of creating more of an issue than the father could handle, or other way, then it helps. Otherwise, it's difficult because, like I said, parents are also in denial. I am right. There's nothing that I'm doing wrong.
So here, I think it's the responsibility of our education system or schools to create that kind of awareness for kids, because otherwise they are just helpless.
How are you going to create an awareness for it? There are two things to it. It's easier said than done. Firstly, if it has to be done, it has to be done with the parents saying that one needs to. So, in fact, we do, extensive during the lockdown, especially. We've done so many online webinars for parenting workshops for parents about handling their children during lockdown. Now, when we're talking about how does one educate the schools, how does one? This is a very delicate issue. This is a basic trust issue then that we are creating in the mind of the child. That also one needs to understood, right?
Yeah.
Can you tell the child, if your mother gives you one tappa here, you go and complain to the police? How does the child of 6 or 5 or 7 even understand? So it's very, very delicate. You see, today we tell in the schools that people are not allowed to touch, right? So to protect the children. But today when a child falls down, nobody wants to come up to pick up the child because all the staff are scared. If I pick up the child, what if I'm told that I've done this to the child?
Yeah.
So it has its good and its bad sides. I'm not saying no to that, but it needs to be handled very, very sensitively. It's easier said than done. There cannot be a blanket rule. Case to case, it has to differ and change.
Okay. Yeah. Ma'am, by and large, women are the victims of domestic violence. There is no denial to that. But there are also times when, in fact, men are the victims to domestic violence. And we have seen females misuse the law, the dowry law, the sexual harassment law against men. When we talk about and we promote gender equality, this is also something that we should talk about, where men are exposed to this kind of violence by women. What do you want to say about that, ma'am?
See, in everything, there is going to be, two sides. So, and that's how people will always. So, whatever laws that we do, the laws are supposed to be a reflection of what the society, the direction of in which the society is moving, right? So, in that case, we have cases where the 498, the section 498A has been misused to put the man and his family behind the bars, even
behind the bars. Yeah.
Yes, ultimately it was done basically that I want 10 lakhs of rupees and you need to settle that. So there are cases which happen like this also, but here then the law needs to have an option, and it's very difficult to sort of doing this. So that is why one cannot really, each case has to be seen in its own merit. So even when we have our counseling cases, whatever the case is saying, there must be another side to it. No, but the case is only telling us that side, one particular side. I don't know the other side. The other side may be something totally different, right? So in this case, that is why it is, see, again, it is our own individual way, our ethics or our values, how far we want to. But it's like you have con men everywhere, no? So people are trying to con others. So
Yeah,
then this becomes, it's
correct.
sad because in a marriage also then we are conning someone. So the basic trust itself gets shaken up, you
Shaken up.
see.
Yeah.
And there's something that I would like to add here, which is why
Yeah.
we have been working extensively in the field of boy-child education. In fact, our founder, Dr. Tushar Goa, he has been doing boy-child education with our institute members for about 20 years now. Because we have girl child education, which is fantastic. But what are we doing in girl child education? In girl child education, we are talking about wrong girl, or the girl is being attacked, then how does one deal with it, right? How does one
Yeah.
fight that attack? How does one deal with that? But we are not looking at the root. We are not looking at where it is coming from, why it is coming from.
Yeah.
So in this boy child education, in fact, it's available. I mean, available in the sense that it's a very Purana video which is there on our YouTube channel, Dr. Tushar Nityanjali, saying that we are always dealing with the effects of what has happened, but we are not talking about how do I change that. The change has to happen at the root. The change cannot happen at the superficial level. So in boy child education, and we talk about it at the primary level. So because in schools, even if children are going to schools, majority of them go at the primary level school. Uske baad in
Yeah.
secondary, most of them drop out. Okay, I'm not talking about a Mumbai or a metropolis, but I'm talking about
Yeah.
interiors of the country. So
Correct.
in that, when we're talking about the primary level, boy child education is about what? Where do these boys go to? Whom do they go to? Whom do they go to with their questions? Who is taking care of them? We are always telling them, you don't shed a tear, you're a man, be a man. You do not cry, you're not supposed to do this. Where do they go to? Whom do they ask their questions? What happens to
Yeah.
them? So this is a very, very important thing. And there is something else that we have done called education and social sensitivity. Education and social sensitivity, where we have been doing over the years, several years now, various activities which can develop empathy and the sensitivity in the child. We go to old age homes. I mean, this since 70s, our sir has been doing, Dr. Tushar Goa. Today we have an entire team of people who are doing it at Nityanjali old age home. We talk to them. We dress up in our costumes. You know that I'm a dancer. So we dress up in our costumes, perform folk, perform classical dance, chat with them, go to orphanages, cancer hospitals. When you see these things, you really understand what life is. And that
Yeah.
compassion and that sensitivity happens. And whether with boys or whether with girls, there are enough women who are absolutely insensitive, and there are enough men who are absolutely insensitive, right? It is both ways. One cannot say that men more than men. In India, over the years, across the world also, have been taught to not express openly. Now it is
Yeah.
changing. So it's all bottled up. So whom do I go to? So for change, this needs to be addressed, which practically we are already doing. If more people like you are joining in, that is fantastic. It is not about who started it. It's about how many of us can make that change in whatever little small manner that we can.
Correct. Yeah, very well said, ma'am. Ma'am, now as we are coming to the end, the very important question is, where and how can a victim find the help they need, or what should they do? Or if someone is aware, or like a child is aware that, okay, my mother is going through a abusive relationship, what can be done? Where does that person go to? Who does that person contact to? Uh, this is an awareness section that we want to talk about. So
Right.
yeah, so what can a person do about it?
There are various NGOs and various organizations which are working in the field. We are one of them. So
Yeah,
so sometimes one comes to know through somebody that so and so organization is there, and then that is the comfort level of that person to go to that particular organization. A whole lot of organizations come to us at Nityanjali, and they come and talk to us. And like you said, there have been cases where the woman has gone through the marriage for 22 years, 25 years, and once the daughter has been able to earn independently, and she's taken the mother out of that abusive relationship, because till then the mother couldn't muster the courage, or it requires a lot of guts to do this. It's
yeah,
not really. So they
It's
can
not.
approach organizations, NGOs who can, but again, it is up to the individual to just, go by a gut feel where you feel comfortable. It's important that where you feel good here, that this is the right person that I'm going to. That assessment we will have to do.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, then we can obviously give the options, but the victim has to make the change. There are a whole lot of cases where the victim turns around and says, "No, no, I'm fine, everything is okay." And with
Yeah.
good reason. So, so the victim has to, even if the victim's parents say that she should move out, there are a lot of cases where parents are supportive, asking the victim to move out, but the victim says, "No, no, it's okay, I cannot get out of this marriage, I'm fine," and they're willingly going through it. Willingly, matlab, compulsorily. I won't say happily, but willingly. So in such cases, it becomes very, very difficult to, because until the victim wants to, nobody can do anything. Nobody.
Yeah.
In fact, one of our courses, special personality development course. I mean, it's a personality development course, but it's actually a healing course for people of going through abuse, or people who are going through anxiety, and it's done in such a beautiful manner that nobody comes to know that he or she is going through a problem. With meditation, with speaking, with counseling. So these are healing processes that one can go through.
That. Ma'am, let me check the comments for some questions before we end the session. Ma'am, the question is, what should a woman do while running around courts? As we know that our court judiciary take years to, come to a end. So what should a woman do about that?
I'm going to give you an answer, which I'm not sure the lawyer world would really like, but I'm going to talk about it from the humanitarian point of view, from a woman point of view. I mean, I teach law students. I, at the same time, always find it to be more practical to go there. So, one is if you're talking about a domestic violence case, or we are talking about, divorce case related to domestic violence. Okay, so the domestic violence will say, I'm assuming will move into the divorce and the separation, right? So there
Yeah.
are things where one is if you have to run around multiple this thing, so figure out whether you have the mental capacity to do this, because you see, everybody gives a lot of advice and free mein hai. We used to have a chapter in school called Muftanand, Muft ka Chandan Ghis Mere Nandan. So free mein advice everybody is willing to give, right? But nobody
Yeah.
is going to come and stand beside you. Everybody's going to say, don't let this person go, let the scoundrel go, don't let this, you must fight, etc., etc. But when you have to borrow the chakkars of the court, you are alone. As simple as that, right? Your lawyer is going to be there. Lawyer is the only person who does not give you free advice, okay? Because that's their profession. So what happens is that you decide how far you want to go ahead. You decide if you're going to claim alimony in the divorce settlement. Is the alimony worth that your divorce case goes on for 10 years? Or are you willing to say that I will survive and build my own economy, and I'm willing to forsake my alimony if my court case gets over in a year or 2 years? That's a choice that the individual has to make. So it's not about I will not let the person go, it's also about buying my mental peace. Right? So that's what it'll change from person to person. Each one, for someone who does not financially come from a very solid background, might say that no, I need this money to sustain. Right? Whereas for someone who
Yeah.
comes from a financial background, could also say I need this money to sustain, but could also look at the other option of saying that I'll
So,
let go because I want to start my life afresh as soon as possible. So it's a call that one person takes, and in certain cases you can complain and still not go to the court and still live separately, right? That's
yeah.
also an option. So there are multiple ways, but we need to be very practical. Fighting for justice is good, but let's understand my mental capacity and my mental peace aspect. It's critical.
Yeah. Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining Unlock India today. It was a pleasure talking to you, and thank you for imparting the knowledge, and thank you for your insightful thoughts, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Yoshita Gwalani. It's been a pleasure chatting with you and your team. You all have been wonderfully professional, I will say. So I'm so glad that the next youth and the next breed of lawyers are this professional. And naturally it augurs very well for our country.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Hope to join you again, and all the best for your NGO, and hope it does the work, and you join us again someday for another insightful session, ma'am. Thank you
Love.
a lot from Team Unlock India.
Thank you so much. Namaskar.